Okay, good evening again, and welcome to the 118th Annual Meeting of the Jewish Federation of Cleveland. My name is Sherry Blauschild, and I am proud to serve as co-chair for tonight's event with my husband, Mark.
And Sherry and I are so happy to be here with all of you this evening in this wonderful campus, the Hebrew campus, the new campus for Hebrew Academy of Cleveland. We're also very excited that we have so many people on Zoom with us today. We're truly one team, one family, one community, and we appreciate the engagement very much. It's a privilege to serve our community as co-chairs for the special event tonight, and it's truly an opportunity to celebrate what makes the Federation so special. The strong partnership between our volunteer leaders and professional staff, and the collaboration that is fostered not only for Jewish Cleveland, but for greater Cleveland and all around the world.
A few days ago, we celebrated the holiday of Shavuos, commemorating the giving of the Torah to the people of Israel at Mount Sinai. Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs, of blessed memory, points out that when talking about the Israelites who gathered, the singular form of the verb is used because they encamped together as they were one person with one heart, kish achad belev achad. Similar to that enormous sense of unity, we are gathered here to celebrate our community.
It is truly an honor to stand here among our community and our leadership, Federation Board Chair David Heller and President Erica Rudin-Luria. David, as your official board chair comes to fruition, we thank you and the entire Board of Trustees for the tireless work on behalf of our community. I'd also like to take the time to recognize past board chairs and Federation President Emeritus Steve Hoffman, who have also helped keep Jewish Cleveland thriving. Please join me in welcoming them, especially those who are here with us this evening, which is Reneé Chelm, Bobby Goldberg, Harley Gross, Gary Gross, Michael Siegel, and Albert Radner. We are also thrilled to see so many of our past campaign chairs with us this evening. These community leaders have each played a critical role in elevating Jewish Cleveland year after year. Thank you again for your leadership and being here tonight. And would you please stand to be recognized?
Finally, we would like to thank the administration and the board of the Hebrew Academy of Cleveland for hosting us. At this time, we'd like to invite Rabbi Simcha Dessler to welcome us to the school, followed by Rabbi Sruli Kaval, who will deliver the invocation.
Thank you, Sherry and Mark. Welcome to the Hebrew Academy of Cleveland. It's a pleasure to have this opportunity to welcome you all. I want to share with you the story about thousands of starfish that were being washed ashore at the edge of the river. And an elderly man passed by and he saw a youngster taking the time and effort to throw the starfish back into the water. And the man tells the youngster, "Young man, you can't possibly save all those fish, you realize." And the youngster threw one more back into the water and he said, "Maybe so, but I just saved the life of this one." Making a difference is what the Jewish Federation of Cleveland has been all about for over a century. Those of us in this room, we've known it, we've seen it. It has impacted generations of people in our community and abroad. Our good friend, my good friend and yours, Steve Hoffman, likes to say that two important things happened two events in the year 1948. One, of course, is the fact that the state of Israel became a state. The second, maybe not that well known, but the second is that the Jewish Federation of Cleveland, then the Jewish Community Federation, accepted the Hebrew Academy of Cleveland as a beneficiary agency. Cleveland's federation was the first federation in the country to embrace Jewish day school education. Today, Jewish day schools dot the map of the world, but it wasn't so at that point. You had to have the vision, you had to have the faith, you had to have the belief, and you had to have the partnership to understand the efficacy and the potential of Jewish day school education. And our federation understood it, and understood it well, and led the way. And for all these years, we've had such a fabulous, mutually beneficial relationship with the Jewish Federation of Cleveland. Today, there are over 2,600 children in the local Jewish day schools in our community. Over 50% of them are at the Hebrew Academy of Cleveland. But where would each day school be without the Jewish Federation of Cleveland? And that just speaks to the Federation's commitment to Jewish education. Think about social services, think about Israel, think about overseas, think about the elderly, think about the Holocaust survivors, and all the other initiatives that Federation does both here and abroad. On behalf of Rabbi Eli Dessler, Dr. Louis Maltzmacher, and Mr. Ivan Sokoloff, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Federation's leadership for its extraordinary support, not just to the Jewish children in Cleveland, Ohio, but the support specifically for this building, for this magnificent facility, which has proven to be a jewel in our community. We could not be here tonight without the support of the Jewish Federation of Cleveland. I want to wish a mazel tov to Reneé Chelm and David Heller, two fabulous friends of our school and of our community, for their incredible accomplishments. Each one in their own right is deserving of these extraordinary accolades and more. We know that they're not going anywhere. We're counting on both of you to continue your wonderful accomplishments, and we thank you for that. I want to also express our appreciation to Erica Ruden-Luria for everything that she has done and continues to do. She is an incredible asset in our community. We've got good people in our federation, and we've got great supporters. And it's an honor to partner with such an amazing institution. I want to conclude with a story that happened yesterday that I shared this morning. We have, in our school, we have 5 kindergarten classes, 5 parallel classes with approximately 114 children in kindergarten who are learning how to read Hebrew and English during this school year. And at the end of the year, we have what we call a misibat sidur, a sitter party, where each child gets his or her own, very own first sitter, which connects them with Avinu Shabashamayim, our Father in heaven, because that's their first prayer book. And so we had probably the third out of 5 yesterday. And when we finished the heartwarming program, I went around the room and wished the grandparents a special mazel tov. And there was one woman, Charlotte, who told me, we are here with 5 generations this morning. I am the great-great-grandmother of this particular child. Wow. But I couldn't expect or anticipate what happened next. She rolled up her sleeve to show me the numbers that she had on her arm. And she said, I'm a survivor of Auschwitz. She never believed that she would see 5 generations committed to Judaism. And she said, this child is what it's all about for me. My friends, we'll do our part. We'll continue to make a difference in Jewish education and Jewish continuity, but we can't do it without Jewish Federation. And for that, we are forever grateful, and we wish you and all of us continued success in our community. Mechael Ochael, from strength to strength. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi Dessler. I'm honored to be in my alma mater, the Hebrew Academy of Cleveland. I'd like to recognize the presence of my father. It's always an honor for me to speak in his presence. I'd like to wish a very special mazel tov to David. Where's David? To David and to Becky and to their entire family. I first had the privilege of getting to know their family when Sam was 8 days old. Sorry, Sam. But it's really been a beautiful friendship and an inspiration to see David embodying the two twin leadership roles of generosity and humility. And on behalf of all of us in this room, we'd like to wish you continued success. May Hashem bless you and your family, and may you continue to go Mechael Ochel from strength to strength. I'd also like to take a moment to wish congratulations and to salute our friend Reneé Chelm. The Koval and Chelm families have a multi-generational friendship, and it's an honor to be able to wish you well on this well-deserved honor, the Eisenman Award. May you and your family continue to have Hatzlacha Rabbah, continued success. The Cleveland Federation is something that, an entity that every one of us in this room are beneficiaries of in so many different touch points. From the work here in our community to Israel, I was privileged to lead a group. Our JFX family mission spent the day in Beit Shan to see their work there, to we've recently heard about their work and their trips to Poland and Ethiopia. And I think to sum up what the Federation means to all of us in this room and to all of Am Yisrael is with the following short story. There was a young man by the name of Mendel who lived in a shtetl in Eastern Europe in between the two world wars. Mendel was a rambunctious young boy, always getting into trouble, and the dean of his cheder, the rabbi of his school, was always looking for creative ways to harness his energy positively. And he gave Mendel the job of tending to the school goat. And every day during the lunchtime hour, Mendel would be in charge of feeding, watering, and caring for the goat. And one day Mendel calls his friend, his sidekick, a boy by the name of Chaim, over. He says, Chaim, let's have some fun today. And Mendel managed to procure a bottle of vodka, which he liberally mixed into the goat's water trough. And a very tipsy goat was then led into the study hall of the cheder, which was in full session. And pandemonium broke loose in the study hall, and it didn't take the dean of the school too long to figure out who was behind the mischief. And Mendel got the message that he was expelled from the school. This was the straw that broke the camel's back. And he had 24 hours to pack his bags and to catch a one-way train back home to his shtetl. And when Mendel heard that, he sobered up pretty quickly, quicker than the goat. And he realized that when he gets home in the middle of the semester and his parents ask him what he's doing home, he's going to be in deep trouble. So he tries to contact the rabbi to ask him for forgiveness. He apologizes. The rabbi refuses to see him. So Mendel, being a resourceful young man, goes to visit the rabbi's elderly mother. It's a Jewish thing to do. She lived on the campus, and she had a soft spot in her heart for the boys and for Mendel. And he explains to her what he did and how he feels so bad, and he wants to have another chance. Can she please advocate on his behalf? She said, Mendel, I can't get involved. That's my son's decision. But I'll tell you what. Why don't you come by tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.? My son, the rabbi, always comes to have a cup of coffee with me each morning. Maybe he'll be in a better mood. Maybe you can, change his mind. So Mendel says, thank you. He comes back the next morning at 8 o'clock. He knocks on the door. The rabbi himself answers the door. And he says, Rabbi, I'm so sorry. I apologize. I know I overstepped my boundaries. I made a mistake. Please give me one more chance. The rabbi said, Mendel, I'll think about it. Come to my office at noon. Mendel leaves. He's hopeful, he's optimistic, but then he says, oy vey, I promised my friend Chaim that I would advocate on his behalf as well. what should I do? I already left. He says, you know what? I have to do the right thing. He knocks on the door again. The rabbi opens the door. What are you doing here again? The rabbi starts to close the door. Mendel's quick. He sticks his foot in the door. He says, Rabbi, I have a friend. Chaim, I have a friend. Can you please give him another chance as well? The rabbi said, well, come back to me at noon and we'll talk about Chaim as well. At noon, Mendel shows up in the rabbi's study. The rabbi said, Mendel, I've decided to give you another chance. Can you guess why? Well, you probably see how sincere I was in my apology. And no, I decided to give you another chance because you said to me those words, I have a friend. And if your friendship is that meaningful to you, I want to be part of that and I want to give you a second chance. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know who is in charge of marketing and PR at the Federation, but if you're looking for a tagline, my vote is the Jewish Federation of Cleveland, I have a friend. I want to thank the Federation for 118 years of friendship. I want to wish a mazel tov to David and to Reneé, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you, rabbis. We really appreciate your kind thoughts and sharing your words of wisdom, so thank you. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce the Federation's nominating committee chair, Gary Gross.
I don't know who made the order for the program tonight, but the next time we have a meeting, do I have to follow the two rabbis? Thank you to Rabbis Dessler and Kovel. It's truly an honor to be here tonight. In fact, I've been in New York for the past week and flew home only this morning in order to pay tribute to David Heller, to Reneé Chelm, and to welcome new leadership to Federation and thank all the others being acknowledged for their service and dedication to the community. You see, this is why I came home. You see, my middle daughter, Emily, is expecting her 6th child anytime now, literally anytime now. And before I boarded the plane this morning, I confirmed that she was not on the way to the hospital. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. And all night long, I've still been checking my phone to see if she's gone to the hospital yet. So far, I can continue making the nominating report tonight. Please join me in thanking the dedicated community members who've concluded their terms on the Federation's Board of Trustees as at-large members. Their names are on the screen. Let's also thank those who've concluded their service on the Federation's Board of Trustees as committee chairs or designated representatives. Additionally, we extend our appreciation for those rotating off as institutional representatives. We appreciate your leadership and dedication to our community. We recall with sadness Trustee Leonard Fuchs, Zichrona Libracha, a blessed memory, our dear colleague and friend who passed away over the past year. He will be truly missed. Now we recognize our current officers, led by David Heller, whose commitment and leadership over the past 3 years has been stellar during extraordinary times. These officers will continue their service through the first board meeting to be held on June 1st. The nominating committee, thank you. The nominating committee has nominated a new slate of officers to be led by incoming board chair Dan Zellman. Nominating Dan was extremely easy. His accomplishments in our community speaks volumes, whether as campaign chair or as chair of JFSA. He has a big vision and will lead us well. The names of all the officers appear on the screen. These officers will be elected by the 2022 Board of Trustees at the June 21st board meeting. Now to the election of the new trustees. The nominating committee has chosen dedicated community leaders who represent diversity across our Jewish community. We're confident that the Federation 2022 Board of Trustees will provide great leadership, creativity, dedication, and vision. We place into nomination the following individuals listed on the screen who will serve as at-large members of the 2022 Federation Board. Our new institutional trustees are listed on the next screen. And finally, the new ex officio trustees are on the screen. In addition, I'm very pleased to announce our newest emeritus trustee, Reneé Chelm. Is Reneé here? Ah, he's in Israel. Thank you, Reneé. The category of emeritus trustee is reserved for those who have served on the board for 20 years or longer and have reached or will reach the age of 75 this year. Reneé is a fixture in our community. He cares deeply about Jewish continuity and helping those facing difficult situations both here in Cleveland and around the world. Whether it's been his extensive involvement as vice president of Hebrew Academy, serving in campaign leadership, or on the board of Montefiore and Menlo Park, Reneé adds depth to any conversation. He's been a true partner with so many organizations serving the Orthodox community, most recently as chair of the Reneé Chelm board. Finally, we want to nominate and recognize our newest life trustees, two of them tonight. Life trustees are elected to recognize the extraordinary achievements of those few whose leadership and contributions recognize the pinnacle of Federation involvement. Bob Immerman has never shied away. Where's Bob? Oh, okay. Thought I saw him earlier. Bob Immerman has never shied away from a community priority and is always willing to step in when and where needed. An excellent example of this is when he became chair of JFSA. At the time, JFSA wanted to start an endowment. Bob immediately stepped up with an initial lead gift and worked to get other community members to fund the endowment. Bob's creativity and vision was instrumental in getting Federation to use and adapt cutting-edge technology to better spread our message and engage our constituents. While it's common now, decades ago, Bob introduced Federation to Vimeo for use with face-to-face virtual meetings, pioneered the concept of a staff intranet, and developed a portal for lay leaders to access their account. He also funded and founded a Jewish singles website, the forerunner of J-Date here in Cleveland. Bob was a Federation vice chair from 2007 to 2009, was chair of the Federation CPC during a time of major transition, served on numerous committees, and was on the boards of Cleveland Hillel, the Mandel JCC, Montefiore. He's an honorary trustee of Mandel JDS and was a founding member of the Ohio-Israel Chamber of Commerce. His legacy will extend through the Immerman Supporting Foundation and is now run by Bob and his 3 adult children. Before we call for a vote, I want to thank the members of the nominating committee who helped identify and secure our Federation leadership for the coming year. Oh, okay. Thank you. Now to the second life trustee that we're going to. You know, how can any of us forget David Heller tonight, except I did? Okay. I told you the rabbis were a hard act to follow. Our second new life trustee is David Heller. Our outgoing board chair automatically becomes a life trustee. More will be said about David later, but we want to recognize him for his outstanding leadership these past 3 years as board chair of Federation. Just one example of his leadership and creativity was evident by the community's response to COVID. He and Erica, his partner for 3 years, where they both flourished in a great partnership, decided to establish the COVID Fund. They raised over $15 million, and it was doled out, maybe that's not the right word, it was distributed to the agencies within our community. I can't even imagine where the agencies would be today without the help that they received. Our community is better off today because of David's vision. Please join me in recognizing David on becoming a life trustee. And believe it or not, much of this is prepared by the Federation. What I just said about David, those were my words. How could I forget? Before we call for a vote, I want to thank the members of the nominating committee who helped identify and secure our Federation leadership for the coming year. The complete board list was published in the Cleveland Jewish News in accordance with our code of regulation. It also appears in your program. No additional nominations have been made. And now for the vote. David, please join me. David, on behalf of the nominating committee, I move to elect the individuals listed on the slate to the Jewish Federation's Board of Trustees for 2022.
Thank you, Gary, and thank you for all your leadership. We do have a motion on the floor, and for those participating virtually, please cast your vote in the poll on the Zoom screen. And I was told to be really patient here because that takes a moment. So I'm being patient. And for those in person, all those in favor, please by signifying aye. Any opposed? How's the vote looking on Zoom? I'm going to go with the assumption that it looks great. And I want to thank you very much. And the 2022 trustees are elected. Gary, I want to thank you for your leadership. Your leadership has been incredible. Many of you know that I followed Gary as the board chair, and I had a great mentor. I followed Gary as the campaign chair. I followed Gary as the board chair. I actually followed Gary as the JEC chair. So Gary, but Gary was also the COVID chair, and I hope I don't have to follow you as the COVID chair. But thank you for all you do on behalf of the community.
David, Erica told me that she's putting together a very high-level committee, so. Oh, I think I'm done.
Gary, you are a very funny guy. Now it's my honor to give recognition to Bradley Sherman. Bradley, you are incredible. And yeah, look, there you are. And you really stood up and took the leadership of the campaign for the past 2 years in an incredible way. I remember when Erica and I met with you for coffee pre-COVID, had a fantastic conversation. You said yes right away, because you knew the importance of the community, you knew what it meant to be a leader, and you took on that responsibility. And then COVID hit, and you didn't back off at all. You ran right to it, as all great leaders do, and you took this community and you had 2 record-breaking campaigns. This past year, raising over $34 million. You are a true leader. You're a wonderful friend. Thank you very much on behalf of the community. And Bradley, you've been also awesome to travel with. Having the opportunity to travel together, to go to Israel last year on a COVID mission, and you know the importance of that, and supporting we billed it as a COVID solidarity mission, and it turned out to be just after an incursion.
And so life happens, and you led us through that. Thank you, Elizabeth, for being there with us as well, and then joining us on the all-important mission to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Israel. Some great leadership trips that you led, and we are thrilled in this community to have Beth Brandon. Where's Beth? Beth. We are thrilled to have Beth taking over as the leader of we had our first senior leadership meeting for the campaign just this week, and Beth, you are going to be fantastic, and everyone is rallying around you. We couldn't be more thrilled to have you as the leader of the campaign for the next 2 years. We're super excited, and we look forward to great things. It's also my honor to just thank the community, to thank all of the donors in this community and all of the campaigners in this community. It is really something special to be a part of a community, and you'll hear me talk a little bit more about this later, but where everybody stands up and stands together. The Campaign for Jewish Needs in 2022 was successful because of our donors, because of our campaigners, and let's hear a round of applause for all the work that they do. And now it's really the exciting time because we get to present the Eisenman Award, which is why we're all here tonight. At this time, it's really an honor to give the highest honor that we have in our community for her civic achievement. And it's my privilege to announce that it's Reneé Chelm. Reneé, it is so deserving. And I have to tell you, when we were deliberating as a committee to talk about this, it was unanimous, and it was quick, and it was because you are absolutely the leader that we want, that this award embodies. And as I read about the award, I think people are going to understand why. It was created in 1924 in the memory of our first board chair. The Eisenman Award is the Federation's highest and most prestigious civic honor given to individuals, families, or organizations who have made significant contributions to Jewish Cleveland and the greater Cleveland community. I want to thank the Eisenman Award Committee members who were part of this selection. And at the end, it was a clear choice, as I said, and we couldn't be more thrilled. We have a wonderful video that we're going to share right now in your honor.
It always goes that when you give of yourself in service, you get so much more back in return, and it is totally true. Reneé Chelm is like the Jewish leader version of a triple threat. She's smart, she's so engaging, and she's passionate.
Reneé moves in multiple circles in Cleveland. She's one of the people who connects the Jewish community with the larger general community. She's respected, and that's very powerful for the Jewish community to have someone in leadership who's able to do that.
She's taken her interest in the world, she's taken her interest in people, she's taken her interest in seeing the Jewish community be a stronger community, and she's taken that to the YWCA. She's taken that to Dress for Success. She's taken that to the Myers Foundation, where we work together.
For the YWCA Greater Cleveland, we serve individuals that often find themselves in some very difficult life circumstances. We want to understand what is really happening and what supports are needed. And she is always thinking about how we get to the root cause.
That really is the basis of a strong organization, is to have the framework and then be able to do all the good things in the community. When Reneé was board chair of the Federation, we expanded our engagement of two very important populations, interfaith families and the Orthodox community. Reneé was passionate about both of these. With her leadership in these areas, we were able to be very successful in building very deep, real relationships.
Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs, in a commentary on leadership, he said, "Great leaders make people better, kinder, and nobler than they would otherwise be." You, Reneé, have certainly done this for so many of us.
I've had the honor and pleasure of knowing many of the Eisenman Award winners of the last 40 years. People who really made a difference in the community, in the general community, in the Jewish community, in both communities. Reneé Chelm absolutely belongs in that class.
You go about your life and you just do what you do and you don't feel like it's anything exceptional. It's just who you are and what you do. And when someone recognizes you for that, you're a little taken aback. It's just such an honor because so many of the people and organizations that have been recipients of the Eisenman Award in the past are people and organizations that I've looked up to.
Renee's deserving of the Eisenman Award precisely for the reason that the Eisenman Award was, I think, designed to reward a lifetime of diverse accomplishments.
She pushes leaders that she's involved with to be their best. I had the opportunity to go from being a local leader to being a national leader. Reneé Chelm was somebody who was in my ear as a civic leader, pushing, guiding, directing, encouraging.
I suppose that I want people to remember me that I jumped in and that I got involved, that it was important to me, that I stood up for the values in my life and tried to make a difference in society as a whole.
There is no doubt in my mind that we are a stronger Jewish people and Jewish community because of Reneé Chelm.
Mazel tov, Reneé. Kol hakavod. You are indeed our very best.
With all my heart, with all my thanks, and really with all my excitement for you, I am so glad that the community is recognizing you in this way.
You are a terrific leader, one that we love. Congratulations.
Mazel tov, Reneé.
Thank you so much for everything you've done for me personally and for the YWCA. It means the world to me.
Hi, hon. You're out cycling right now, so I thought I'd sneak in a video. Sorry I can't be there to celebrate with you tonight. It's an amazing honor, and I am so proud of all you've done throughout the years for the Jewish and general community of Cleveland. Love you very much.
Mazel tov, Reneé.
Mazel tov, Reneé. Mazel tov, Reneé. Congratulations on this incredible honor. We are so proud of you and thankful every day for the role model that you are to us and to our children. Thank you for all you do for the community that you love and nurture. We love you.
We love you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, Reneé Chelm.
That was a lot. I wasn't expecting that. And David, where are you? Thank you very much. I really want to begin by congratulating you on the successful completion of your Federation's board chair term. It is often said that the right leader comes along at the right moment, and that couldn't be more true than in David's case. He's led our community through these past 3 challenging years with incredible vision and leadership, and our community thanks you, as you've heard, and you will hear again, and you all deservedly so. I'm sorry. Also, I'd like to thank the members of the Eisenman Committee for choosing me for this award. It was completely unexpected, and I have to say thank you. That I'm humbled and honored to be included on the list of past recipients who I have admired for their work and, more importantly, for their humanity. And some of you are in the audience tonight, and you know what it's like to be standing here or to be on Zoom when you receive it. I also want to thank my family and friends for being ever understanding with me for my crazy schedule and myriad of meetings. But most importantly, I want to thank my husband, Kerry, who is watching on Zoom from the mountains of Colorado while recovering from his hip replacement surgery. He's doing great and expects to literally be back in the saddle again, the bike one, very soon. I love you, and remember to take your meds. I'd like you to take a moment and imagine, if you could, a world where there was no social injustice, no racial inequities, no lack of education, no disasters, natural or man-made. You get the drift. In the words of songwriter Sam Cooke, what a wonderful world this would be. That, unfortunately, is not our reality, and I feel until that time happens, we are all needed to collectively do the work to repair the world. We're so fortunate that the Cleveland community takes these issues seriously and marshals all its resources to make a positive change. And our greatest asset here is our people and their willingness to get involved, to be a part of something greater than themselves. I'm guessing most of the people here tonight have experienced this at some point or another by contributing their time as well as their treasure. And I know that you all felt better afterwards, your life more whole. I'm often asked why I devote the amount of time that I do to the community. And there's no short, easy answer to this. I could say the results are better than when I compare it to the time I spend on the golf course. But in truth, aside from the time spent with family and friends, there is nothing that brings me greater satisfaction than the time I spend working in the community. I consider myself really very fortunate to be able to do it. I've had many experiences and lessons learned throughout the years. A few examples are from some of my hands-on volunteer efforts. At Habitat for Humanity, while nailing shingles on roofs, I learned the power of teamwork to reach a goal before a deadline, and also how a place to call home is so vital to one's sense of worth. An added lesson was also how not to bash in your thumbs with a hammer. At the Therapeutic Writing Center, I had such admiration for the determination and joy of young children with physical disabilities, learning the freedom of movement while riding horseback. There was a wonderful symbiotic connection between the horse and the children, most of them who had never even seen a live horse before, let alone ride one. For many of them, it was a life-changing experience. At Dress for Success, where underprivileged women were coming in for an interview-appropriate outfit, we gave them the confidence, both physically and mentally, to start over again. Along with that new outfit, sometimes an encouraging word was all they needed to have them believe in themselves, the first step in acing that interview and getting the job. Through the many meals served at homeless shelters, I got a healthy dose of compassion. And even though I wasn't walking in their shoes, I often thought, but for the grace of God, go I. Every endeavor has brought with it its own lesson, another patchwork in the quilt of my life. Later, through my board involvements and leadership positions, I saw the importance of strong lay professional relationships to further the goals of an organization. At Mount Sinai Foundation, I learned the important questions to ask before granting precious resources, and then the importance of evaluating the effectiveness of those grants. Thank you, Sally Wertheim. Through the Mandel and Myers Foundation and the Maltz Museum Board, I've witnessed how the vision and passion of their unique founders has made a difference in so many people's lives, truly changing the world for the better. At the YWCA of Cleveland, I've been part of advocacy for women and children and taken part in programs that have helped uncover and deal with my own personal biases. And last, but certainly not least, through my involvement at the Jewish Federation of Cleveland, I was able to explore and engage in many areas of personal interest, such as social justice, women's empowerment, outreach, and leadership development, to name just a few. Federation taught me how important it was to plan for the future, for all the things we know will happen, but more importantly, for all the unexpected and unknown challenges that will certainly come along. Their response these past few years to COVID, the war in Ukraine, and rising anti-Semitism illustrates the importance of doing the small things every single day to be ready to do the big things when it's needed. Nowhere is the power of community more evident. In closing, I have to reiterate that I am truly honored to be receiving the Eisenman Award. but I have to share with you that originally I was not going to fly home to Cleveland to be here in person to receive it. You see, not knowing what to expect with Carrie's surgery, I needed to take my caregiving duties seriously. When I mentioned this to our daughter, Jana, she responded by saying, and I'm quoting from her email to me, quote, "You are such an influence in my life, and I'm so glad my children have you as a role model as well. You are so deserving, and we must celebrate this honor. You have to come home." So obviously, I listened to Jana. Later, it got me thinking that if the positive influence that I have on her and my two granddaughters turns out to be the singular legacy of all my community involvement, well, that in itself would be enough. Thank you.
Reneé, we have this beautiful citation that's been sitting up here all night. I'm sure the photographer is going to want to get a picture of the two of us in front of it. But before we run over there and do that, I just want to mention that a check was for a charity of choice was in your honor is going to be given to the Federation's Ukraine Emergency Relief Fund. And it's an honor for all of us here to recognize you. No one more deserving. Thank you. I can't lift it. No.
David's going to be coming back on stage in a moment. David, we would like to recognize you as well for your incredible dedication and thoughtful leadership as board chair. And what we want to do now is reflect on your tenure during your leadership duties as it concludes later in the month at a board meeting. But I think you'll enjoy this.
We don't pick the times pick us. And I'm just fortunate that I was able to go through everything that we've gone through through my board chairmanship with such great people in this community wanting to make a difference and wanting to get through challenging times together. We responded to the challenges, we responded to anti-Semitism, and we coalesced as a community together.
David Heller was an obvious choice to become the next board chair of Federation. David is smart. He's passionate about Jewish life and Jewish education and building a Jewish community. And he is passionate about Cleveland.
My mother taught me that we lead three lives. Family life, most important, the community life, second most important, and the business life, the least important. If you look at David in all three of those aspects, just a great package.
When I first started as board chair, I had all sorts of visions and wonderful things that we were going to accomplish in the community. And even before COVID, we were struck with incredible anti-Semitism. I just remember going with so many people from this community to the anti-hate rally in New York, and just thinking that, boy, how much the world has changed. I had no idea that just a month later we'd be shut down and be dealing with COVID.
Every board chair comes into the office with big ideas and plans, naturally. And then reality sets in and other things come into play that you can't anticipate. In David's case, it was COVID. But David, as the captain of our ship, absolutely navigated us through brilliantly with the rest of the crew, led by Erica. And it was quite an accomplishment. We actually have come through this period stronger than ever.
In the Torah, we learn about the Israelites and their exodus from Egypt. And we learn about a leader named Nachshon, who bravely was the first to step into the water. When COVID hit and the world was paralyzed. David Heller was our Nachshon. He led this community to feel like the Federation was here and our leadership was going to see us through this extremely paralyzing time.
Continuing lifelong learning of Torah, something that's critically important to me and something that I talk about very openly and a lot. I think that it's important to share with the next generation.
Our seders are very lively with a lot of questions and answers. So we go through the Gada, but everyone on the table participates in discussions. It's all part of his wanting to hear all viewpoints, but also not being shy about shaping viewpoints that may not be quite on the right path.
He brought the YWCA to us to do the 21-day challenge, which helped us learn about how racism and anti-Semitism intersect. And we challenged ourselves to read and to learn. And it was one of the most eye-opening experiences I had. And I was so grateful he brought that to the Federation.
One of the things that I've really enjoyed in my involvement in Federation before I was board chair and continuing on as board chair is the opportunity to go to Israel with the CEOs, our business leaders mission. It's designed to create friendships and relationships in times of peace so that when we have times of challenge, we can call on those friends to be an advocate for the truth. It's wonderful to have an educated partnership with so many people in our community. It's really been a pleasure to be part of that.
What was really great about David is he would permit you to meander your way into a conclusion. And then when we came back, I started working with David, creating 72 affordable housing projects on the Metro Health campus. And I got to work with him through that process and see it to fruition.
One thing I love about David is that when there's something going on in the world or in our community, he's the first one to jump on a plane and say, I need to be where I can do some good.
One of the most significant moments that we shared that was David, Becky Heller, and myself was definitely our trip to Poland 2 weeks into the war in Ukraine.
What really touched me more than anything was to see that Israeli flag when you got right up to the border and people were coming across. The first thing they saw was the Israeli flag. It's a very sad situation. It continues on to today. But to know that the Jewish community is there, not just there, but at the front lines and at the forefront was really, really incredible.
When you're with David, you would think you're the only person in the world and there's nothing else in the world going on. And yet he has the ability to do all of these things with love and grace. He is a blessing to our community.
I look at the past 3 years and try to find the positives that we accomplished. The way that we pivoted from in-person meetings to online and Zoom, the way that we raised dollars to respond to the challenges financially to our community and to the general community, and the way that we were able to participate and help gave me an incredible sense of pride on behalf of this community. I don't take the credit for that. The community takes the credit for that. It's really being part of a fantastic community and rising to challenges.
We groomed David to be a nice young man, a good Jewish boy. Looking at him to be a leader in the community, a board chair of Federation someday, was not anywhere in our plans. Anita and I maybe take a little bit of credit. David did this because David is David.
Thank you for instilling in me a sense of love of Judaism and a passion for the state of Israel. You have taught me the importance of a strong U.S.-Israel relationship, and I've now been to Israel over a dozen times and spent my semester abroad studying in Tel Aviv. I look forward to passing on my passion for Israel to my generation and beyond. Love you, Dad.
Attending Jewish day school has reinforced the values that you and Mom have taught me all throughout my life. You've instilled in me a strong Jewish foundation and a love for Judaism that has motivated me to continue to stay involved with the community. But the most important thing that I've learned is that it is not just about me, but about bringing others with me. You have taught me that it is a lifelong journey that doesn't stop. I love you and congratulations.
We are all so thankful for all that you do, not just for our family, but for the Jewish community in Cleveland and around the entire world. You and Mom have taught me to love both Israel and Judaism. After being bar mitzvahed at the Western Wall, I truly learned what it means to appreciate the most beautiful country in the entire world. And that is all thanks to you. Once again, congratulations, Dad. We love you so much, and we're so proud of you.
Your leadership has influenced me in so many ways and brought me to where I am today,
working for UJA Federation of New York, and getting involved with different Jewish philanthropies around the world. You continuously teach me, Ellie, Ben, and Sam what it means to give back, and we are the luckiest kids in the world to have you and Mom as incredible role models and parents. Thank you for showing us what it means to be a leader in the community, and Mazel Tov on this amazing honor. We love you.
David, you're a leader in our community, but you are the leader in our family. From the decision to send our kids to Jewish preschool, to Gross Schechter Day School, to summer camp at Camp Ramah Rome, I think really set them up to be leaders in their own right when they got to college. As you know, when we travel around the world, it's important that you instilled upon them that they needed to visit Jewish communities, Jewish synagogues, learn about the history, and they do it on their own now. And it's a testament to you, it's a testament to us. We love you. We couldn't be more prouder of you. Mazel tov.
Ladies and gentlemen, please let's thank David Heller for everything he's done and welcome him to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And as I have a couple of comments tonight, I spent so much time in front of a Zoom camera, which I guess I am right now, and behind a podium. I'm gonna take the pleasure of leaving the podium and just having a conversation and giving a bunch of thank yous because it's been really my honor to lead the community and to be a part of this celebration. I'm heartwarmed. We had a beautiful dinner earlier, and I just want to thank everybody that attended that and said such kind words. And I want to congratulate Reneé. Reneé, Mazel Tov again, so well deserved, and it's a true honor sharing the stage with you this evening. You know, as I begin my thank yous, I have to start with my wife, Becky, because I don't want to rush through this and then get to the end and not give her the proper thank you. Becky, you are the best, and you are an incredible partner through all of this. You are the rock of our family, and what's really impressive about Becky is not only is she a great partner in all of this, but she is a leader in her own right. I don't know if any of you know this, but she was a candy striper at Menorah Park, and that's where she began her Jewish involvement and her Jewish career, and went on to leadership in women's philanthropy. She was on Young Leadership Cabinet, National Women's Philanthropy. You're a leader in your own right. It's wonderful to share that with you. But when we travel together, as it was said in the video, we would always go to visit different Jewish communities around the world, not different than many of the people here in this room. But one of the things that really warmed my heart was when we were in Sarvash. Sarvash is a summer camp in Hungary. It's funded by the JDC, and it's meant to give kids from Eastern Europe an opportunity to have a summer camp experience. It really, in many ways, enriches their lives. And to see the look on Becky's face when we were at Sarvash with these kids was just absolutely incredible. It was repeated this past summer in Beit Shan, where she was with this young girl who you see behind me, who she just really took to in Beit Shan. And as Erica was mentioning earlier, Becky's just got a wonderful soul, and it's so fun sharing it with you. And Becky, you're an incredible role model to our children, our 4 children, all who are here tonight. Thank you. You guys were awesome in the video. It touched my heart, and you're just wonderful. And Lador Vador and Rachel, who's here tonight, Ben's girlfriend, who's been part of our family for the past 5, 6 years. Thank you for being here and sharing this as well. As I continue on with my thank yous, I have to thank Erica. Erica, you have been the most unbelievable partner. I have grown so much in working with you. It's absolutely incredible. I'll tell you, and many of you might not know this, but Erica actually got me out of my comfort zone. So in all of this, in working together with Erica, she calls me up on December 31st, 2019. And I was in Florida, she was in Cleveland, and she said, David, we are going to go as a community to New York for the No Hate, No Fear rally. And I said, okay, I'll think about it. And she's like, no. You'll go to New York with our community to the No Hate, No Fear rally. Well, not only did we go, Erica, but we went with my whole family, my father. It was absolutely critically important at that time to stand up. But it was you that got me out of my comfort zone and said, you must go. You did it again when we went to Ukraine and Poland. But I want people here to know that in a true partnership that Erica and I had, to the outside, to all of you, it looked like at all times we were in sync and we moved forward. And that's what you do when you have a partnership. But behind the scenes, Erica and I challenged each other for the past 3 years in a very healthy way. That's what you want with a partner. If you didn't need it, you wouldn't, as Gary was, and I was talking to Gary before, he said, you wouldn't need a partnership. You only need one of you if you were in sync on everything. And that was what was great about Erica. She made me a better person. I just want to thank you for all of that. You've been a great partner. Thank you very much. And in Cleveland, we have what I like to call a mentorship mentality. We have mentors in our community that are just absolutely unbelievable, and they're accessible. And I think that we don't appreciate enough how much we have access to these leaders in our community. They're there for you, they listen to you, they give their wisdom, and they want to learn from you as well, because they want to see what the next generation is doing. I'm ever so grateful. So many of them are here tonight. They've been a wonderful part of my life. I can't go on and talk about all of them, but I want to start with two that are very important, and that's my mom and dad. They have been just incredible role models, for me, but anyway, I grew up in a Federation family. I grew up, you're not going to believe these stories, but every night, this is my childhood memory. Every night we would have dinner together as a family, and then my father would go off to a meeting, whether it was Hillel because he was the board chair of Hillel, or whether it was a committee meeting, or whether it was because he was at a Federation board meeting. My memory was he was going off to save the Jewish world, and that's what I knew. So what do? I graduated from college. I moved to Chicago. I get a job at Arthur Andersen, and there's 2 weeks of training at St. Charles for all of those people that worked in public accounting and understand that. And you get back, I get to 33 West Monroe, my first day, 5 o'clock hits, and I walk over to the Federation. This is a true story. I walk over to the Federation and I said, I'm David Heller, I'm here, what's my job? And they said, we're having a dial-a-thon tonight. And they gave me a stack of cards, and I go and I sit down and I start dialing for dollars, and everyone in Chicago, they all knew each other. So they're all talking just like our dial-a-thons, and I'm sitting there making phone calls. I go through all my cards, I turn them in at the end of the night, and I said, I'm all done. What time should I be here tomorrow? And they said, we've got a live one. We better reel them in. It's an honest to God true story. I got involved very, very early in my career there. I was involved in young leadership in the YLD and then on Young Leadership Cabinet, but it was thanks to my parents who instilled that importance of giving back to the community in me and my sister Shelley and my brother Alan, who's watching on Zoom. Just thank you, Mom and Dad. You've been incredible mentor for me. And, speaking of mentors, it says in the Talmud that at any given time in our life, there are 36 righteous people living on the planet. And when I think of my life, so what it says is that you must treat everybody, they're all unknown, we don't know who they are, but you must treat everybody as if they are one of those 36 righteous, and you must act yourself as if you may be one of those 36 righteous. I am convinced that in our community, we have had several of those. I have been fortunate enough to be touched by some of them, and one of them might even have been Mort Mandel. And Mort was a mentor to me, really helped shape my life as a community leader, as a business leader, and during my leadership and my campaign or my board chairmanship, we lost one of our greats in Cleveland, which was Mort Mandel. We have mentors that come in all different forms. So if you have a mentorship mindset, mentors, you never know when you're going to get in touch with them, and you're never going to know what you're going to learn from them. And one of them is here with us tonight, and that's Rabbi Schudrich. And Rabbi Schudrich, when we were in Poland in 2013, we had the opportunity to deliver a Torah to your community on behalf of our community, which was a very touching moment. I remember like it was yesterday, marching around the streets of Warsaw, feeling like we had rejuvenated the city. It was our gift to you. You are a gift to the Jewish people in the way that you've rejuvenated Jewish life in Poland. It means so much to us here in Cleveland. We look forward to your remarks. And Becky and I had the opportunity of returning, spending some time with you and Rabbi Goldschmidt from Moscow just a few months ago. And on a personal note, I want to thank you for something that you might not even realize, but is so important to all of the people here tonight. And that's the restoration and the revival of the Lublin Yeshiva. And that is an incredibly important building. It was the largest yeshiva in Europe at its time, built in the early 1930s. And many of you know that was Rabbi Meir Shapiro's yeshiva. And Meir, if that name sounds familiar to you, he is the one that started the Daf Yomi. If you read a Daf of Torah, which is an A and a B of the 72 volumes of Talmud, 72 volumes of the Talmud, you'll read the whole thing in 7.5 years. I happen to be on the 15-year plan, so I'm doing a half a daf a day, but thank you for that. And there are more people studying Daf Yomi today in the world than probably the entire time of the world combined up to this time. So thank you for that. You know, my 3 years have been defined, will always be defined by COVID. They'll be defined by COVID and the war in Ukraine. But there were other great accomplishments. We heard about some of them. The board engagement that we had even before COVID, the way that we got the board to be engaged, to be partners with us, and then through COVID on Zoom, the way that our board really engaged with us was absolutely incredible. The other thing that I'll always remember is the gun policy. We had a gun policy. We updated it. Tim Williger and his leadership of leading us through that, Greg Levine through the CRC and the important work that they do. Why is that important? Because when you get together as a community and you decide what our policy is going to be, then when you go to Columbus or you go to Washington and you meet the crises that we're going through as a country right now, we're not scrambling and saying, what do we think as a Jewish community? We've done that hard work. We know where we stand together, and we know how to go out and lobby and make change in our society, which is ever more important with the challenges that we're facing right now. We also, and Reneé alluded to this, and I think it was alluded to in the video, the work that we did with the YWCA on the 21-day challenge and taking our federation through the challenges of racial equity and inclusion, of learning together as a community, of learning of the challenges after the death of George Floyd and what we went through during COVID and we're continuing to go through. And that is a lifelong journey of understanding race relations and racial understanding in our society. I'm very proud that we were able to bring that to our community. And we learned from that and brought the Elul Challenge, which was a 30-day challenge that we brought the community through to have a learning component every day through the month of Elul. And Rabbi Landis is here somewhere, but Rabbi Landis put that together with his wife and the work that they would do at Partners in Torah. And it was so critically important. It was recognized nationally and internationally. And I look forward to continued work for this year as we approach Elul in the fall before the holiday season and getting ourselves prepared in the right way to enter into Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And I would not be up here with such excitement if I didn't recognize Jeff Wild and Bradley Sherman, who really made my board chairmanship come alive. The work that you guys did on your campaigns, record-breaking campaigns, 2 years for Jeff, 2 years for Bradley. Thank you so much on behalf of the community. You guys were incredible and you did an amazing job. We were, unfortunately, from the beginning of my chairmanship all the way up to today, dealing with something that we all deal with, and that's anti-Semitism. And we have got to be out there talking about it, and we've got to be out there, have the tools and the skills to talk about it. But what I want to share with you is the fact that we know the antidote to anti-Semitism. We know how anti-Semitism goes away, because if you study anti-Semitism for the past 2,000 years, we know how to get rid of it. It's when clergy speak out against it, and it's when political leaders speak out against it. And we know how it comes back. It's when clergy allows it to happen and when political leaders allow it to happen. Look at the Dark Ages, look at any of our programs, of anything that happens, that's where it starts. So we need to work with our political leaders, we need to work with our clergy, and we need to create relationships, something that I'm very passionate about, that we continue to educate them. That's our job, is to educate them on the importance of this and help them take it and put it back under the rock where it belongs, and not allow it to rear its ugly head. And one of the things that was most seminal in my mind of studying this and learning about it during my board chairmanship was the remarks that were made by Deborah Lipstadt, which were very, very important and very prescient. And that is, if you're a Democrat, don't go out there and point the finger at Republicans and call them out for their anti-Semitism. If you're a Democrat, call out the Democrats in your own party for their anti-Semitism. And if you're a Republican, don't point the finger at the Democrats and call them out for their anti-Semitism. Stand up and call out the other Republicans in your party and call them out for their anti-Semitism. That's how we're going to solve this. That's how we're going to become a better country. So, as I conclude my remarks, this week's Parsha is Parsha Naso, and in Parsha Naso, we have the three priestly blessings. And so what I would like to do is I would like to just say that that first blessing is about wealth. And the wealth that I want to talk about is something that was unfinished in my campaign. And what was unfinished in my campaign is the true celebration of the Abraham Accords. That is something that I will look back on and say, I wish we could have done more, because I think that is a gift to the next generation. The peace between Israel and the United Arab Emirates and the peace between Israel and Morocco is a peace that we've been waiting for and thirsting for our whole lives. A true peace with an Arab nation, with our Muslim brothers, to be able to work hand in hand with them is something that we need to continue to work on and to continue to thrive. Having just been in Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and then going to Israel from there, it was absolutely incredible. It was a trip of a lifetime. I encourage all of you to celebrate this. I could go on for hours, but it's the gift to the next generation that on our college campuses, we should not be out there fighting with others. We should be out there celebrating and working together with folks like the people in this picture from Shiraka that are doing incredible work on engaging partnerships between Jews and Muslims around the world. And as we all know that in the news now is these talks that are happening and people going to visit in Saudi Arabia, they're going to be the next to break through. So if we zoom out of the challenge of the Israel-Palestinian situation that we've been dealing with our entire lives, maybe we're looking at it all wrong. Maybe we need to look at it as a broader piece and then zoom in and create peace with the Palestinians. That's my hope. I wish we could have done more during my chairmanship at the Federation, but a couple of things got in the way and we weren't able to do that. But I just want to point out this picture. For those of you that don't know, the one picture that's the elongated picture, that's Rabbi Schneerson. On the wall there, that's the Chabad in Dubai. And on the other wall, just facing him, is the royal family. Or I've got it backwards because I'm looking at a screen here, but I think you know which one is Rabbi Schneerson. How beautiful. He's not the one in the robe. How beautiful is that? That in Chabad in Dubai, where we're celebrating both faiths. That's the Abraham Accords. That's what I want. The second one is, the second blessing is countenance, and that is spiritual life. And you've heard a lot about my passion for studying. My chavrus is here somewhere, David Greenwald. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for the past 22 years of learning together and the partnership that you've given me. My wish to all of you is that you continue to learn, you go on your own journey. I don't know if it's here at Hebrew Academy, if it's at the Mandel's Day School, if it's at Gross Schechter, if it's Fairmount Temple, if it's Suburban Temple. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's the JCC. Join your journey, find your journey, go on it, begin your learning, continue your learning. You know, the Vilna Gaon says that he studied the Mesilas Yesharim 101 times, had memorized the whole thing. Why did he continue to learn? We continued to learn because each time he read it, he was a different person. Why do we continue to learn the Torah every year, year after year? Because each year when we learn it, we're a different person. Each time we're opening the Torah and reading that parsha a different time. Make learning a lifelong journey. That's my blessing to all of you. And the third one is shalom. The peace, bringing the two of those together. I want to say that we should be stronger together, We are here for good. Thank you to the entire community for all that you've done. And it's just been an absolute blessing to be with everyone. I want to thank all of you. I want to thank the Federation staff for being an incredible partner through all of this. And I want to thank Dan Zellman. Where's Dan? Dan. So just one word to you and really to the community. And that is that you followed me as campaign chair. And I want to remind this community that while I had two semi-successful years as campaign chairs, Dan hit it out of the park. And Dan really took the work that I had done and took it to another level. That's what you're all in for. And I couldn't be more pleased to have Dan Zellman as our next board chair. Congratulations.
Let's hold up. Do what? I forgot the flowers for Becky. Becky, come on.
David, first of all, thank you for those incredibly insightful, that kiss is more important, insightful and touching remarks. We truly appreciate you. On behalf of the Federation Board, the professional staff, the beneficiary agency leaders, and all the good work that is done here in Jewish Cleveland, we do have a gift that we hope you'll accept from us here. So do you have it here? You want to open it up and just say a few words about it? We just find it meaningful. Go ahead.
Oh. The Kiddush cup that appears on the screen is the creation of the renowned Israeli artist Sari Srulovic. The inscription reads, Ivkol Mashe Yiyu Lashem Shamayim, which translates to, and all your deeds will be for the sake of heaven. David, all your work as a volunteer and a leader these past many years, and especially your tenure as Federation Board Chair, has been for the sake of heaven. You have honored all of us by living your values and making this community a better place. Thank you so much. Mazel Tov, David. We would also like to acknowledge Becky Heller. Becky, a donation has been made in your honor to Menorah Park.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. At this time, we'd like to introduce our guest speaker for tonight's annual meeting, Rabbi Michael Schudrich. Rabbi Schudrich was born in New York City in 1955. He was educated in Jewish day schools in the New York area and graduated from State University of New York in 1976 with a religious studies major. Rabbi Schudrich received shmicha through the Jewish Theological Seminary in 1980 and then later through Yeshiva University in 2000. He served as rabbi of the Jewish community of Japan from 1983 to 89, and he also was involved with the recognition of the heroism of Konsul Sugihara in saving Polish Jews from the Shoah.
As a student in the 70s, Rabbi Schudrich began his travels to East Europe by leading Jewish groups to those countries and meeting with the remnants of the Jewish communities. In 1990, he began working for the Ronald Lauder Foundation and spent 1992 through 98 residing in Warsaw, Poland. In June 2000, Rabbi Schudrich returned to Poland as the Rabbi of Warsaw and Lodz, and in December 2004 was appointed Chief Rabbi of Poland. Rabbi Schudrich is the recipient of several awards and medals, including the Polish Presidential Medal of Honor.
So after we hear from the rabbi, there will be an opportunity for Q&A, a short Q&A, and Federation staff will have in the aisles note cards, pencils, and if anyone on Zoom wants to send a question in, you can do so virtually as well in the Q&A function of Zoom. So please, now let's welcome Rabbi Michael Schudrich. Thank you.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction. As I would say that you're definitely invited to my funeral. Jews in Poland. Now that's a subject I could speak to all of you for hours, but because I like you, I'm not going to. Jews in Poland, when we think of Jews in Poland, the first thing we think of is not a living, vibrant Jewish community. There's been a very difficult history for Jews in Poland. And so the question is, why should there be any Jews left in Poland today? After everything that happened to the Jews before the Shoah, during the Shoah, after the Shoah, why should there be any Jews left in Poland today? 1939, World War II begins. At that time, there are 3.5 million Jews living in Poland, the heart, the soul of the Jewish community. 5 years later, only 5 years later, 90% no longer alive, having been murdered by Germans and accomplices. That statement is so horrific. Most people don't think how many Jews survived. 10% of 3.5 million, 350,000 survivors after the Shoah in Poland. Where are they? The vast majority of the survivors leave Poland in the 25 years after World War II. If you wanted to feel safe saying the statement, I am a Jew, it made good sense to leave post-Holocaust, Soviet-occupied, communist Poland. And so most of the Jews left. But not all the Jews left. And those who stayed basically agreed with those who left. Stay in Poland. I'm sorry, stay Jewish, leave communist Poland. Stay in communist Poland, stop being Jewish, to the extent you often didn't even tell your children or grandchildren that you were really Jewish. And the deep, dark secret stays a secret. From 1939 to 1989, 50 years of hiding until communism falls. And then in 1989, the unexpected happens, communism falls. And all of a sudden, the not so young survivors are confronted with the question, do I feel safe enough today to tell my children, grandchildren, that I'm really Jewish? Since 1989, thousands and probably tens of thousands of Poles have discovered they have Jewish roots. That's the Jewish community of Poland today. It's a story of discovery, the story of the blessing of democracy. It's the story of Netzach Yisrael Lo Yishaker, which I paraphrase as we say it's hard to be Jewish. What I have found, it's even harder to stop being Jewish. And so let me share with you one story about a discovery. A woman comes to see me several years ago and says, Rabbi, I think my mother's parents were Jewish. Why? Because grandma used to make pancakes that no one else made. Okay. Until I saw a group from Israel traveling through Poland with a box of my grandmother's pancakes, matzah. Grandma used to tell us words which no one knew what they meant. When we misbehaved as little kids, she would call us meshiga. Rabbi, do you know what that means? I said, do I know what it means? I live it. And the way she said meshuga, it wasn't mishuga, which is my poor Israeli accent. It's meshuga, which is my poor old Polish accent. She said, Grandma loved to play cards. When she had a bad hand, she would say, Ivai. What does that mean, Rabbi? I said, untranslatable. And then a few other things that she said, Rabbi, there was something strange that I just remembered. Whenever Grandma gave us meat to eat, she wouldn't let us drink milk afterwards. If anyone is unclear why that's important, please sign up at your local synagogue's class on the basic rules of kashrut. So here you have Grandma, traumatized by the Shoah, further damaged by communism, too afraid to say the sentence, I am a Jew, and yet still passing on something of Yiddishkeit to her grandchildren. And so she was there with her 20-year-old son, 16-year-old daughter, and I turned to the 20-year-old son, who was like the one who was the most interested, university student. I said, go find some document, go find grandma, great-grandma's birth certificate, something that will help us. There's no question of what your mother described. It must be that her grandparents were Jewish. But we like documents today. So he came back 9 months later and he said he found the original birth certificate of his mother's mother's mother, whose name was Rucholaya. And I think the last name was like Lemberger. So as what I like to refer to, once you have a document like that, in the halachic term, in terms of verifying Jewish identity, the halachic term that I like to use is slam dunk. Someone once asked me how to say that in Aramaic, and I told them slamadanka. That's in honor of Daf Yomi. Just don't ask your rabbi what that means, So, and then this young man goes on, becomes very interested, comes to our classes and this and that, and so won't go through the whole story. Then he finishes his university, gets his master's, gets to a second master's, gets invited to do a master's at Harvard University, kind of like a real Jewish dream. And there, of course, meets a nice Jewish girl. And I officiated at the wedding last summer, along with Rabbi Yehuda Sarna. So formerly of NYU, or still of NYU and the UAE. His sister, by the way, went on to help form the first Moshe house in Berlin, where she was studying. And fast forward, was in Hong Kong, found a Jewish boyfriend. They moved to Israel. They broke up, but she made Aliyah and is living in Israel. And usually when I'm asked to speak, I would spend the whole time speaking about the Polish Jewish community. But because we're living in unusual times, in some ways horrific, after what happened, the Putin aggression into the Ukraine 3 months ago, I'd like to spend the rest of my time telling you what's happening in Poland today vis-a-vis the Ukrainian refugees. Now, for those of us who can remember all the way back to February 24th, when the war began, actually a week before I started, I was watching the news and I'm saying, this doesn't look good. Now, we're all hoping it's not going to happen. It's not, but I said, we better start doing something now. And so I took a look around the community, the Jewish community, and said, where do we have buildings that we could potentially house refugees? And identified 4 of them. I called the organizations that were responsible for them. And I said, if the worst happens, and what happened was way worse than any worst we could ever imagine, are you willing to stop all your normal activities in that facility and house refugees? And of course, everyone said yes. And actually, I spoke to some of my clergy colleagues, the non-Jewish clergy, to try to start to do something together beforehand. And one of them was a wonderful human being and a wonderful clergy. Said, Rabbi, you're getting ahead of yourself. And I said, no, because if we wait till the war happens, it's too late. And so at least the Jewish community had the tiny slight advantage of already having an idea where we could put a few hundred refugees. So to tell you the truth, no one was expecting 5 million refugees coming into Poland. Now, the vast overwhelming majority are not Jewish, but some tens, perhaps maybe 20,000, 15,000 Jewish refugees, no one knows. And what happened was on the second day of the war, we met together on Zoom, the heads of the different Jewish organizations, and we said, we're going to create a crisis management team. No more organizations We're all just one team. We're working together. We created a hotline with volunteers staffing it 24/7. And in the first weeks, it was 24/7, not the normal 24/6. Who spoke Russian and or Ukrainian. And then I started thinking about, we just created a crisis management team. For hundreds of years, we Polish Jews were the crisis. 3 months ago, we became the management team. For hundreds of years, Jews fled out of Poland. In the last 3 months, they're fleeing into Poland. So that goes under the category, if you live long enough, you see everything. There are 3 groups, as I've been able to identify 3 different groups of refugees. One, people who have decided they want to make Aliyah, they want to move to Israel. The Jewish agency, the Sochnut, is there. I don't know, the second, third day, they were already up and running in Warsaw. And they rented hotels, they brought in the consular people, and people are making Aliyah. That's one option. The second option are people who arrive and they have a cousin in Germany, they have a friend in France, they have somewhere to go. And so what we're able to do is that we're able to help them for the day or 2 or the 3 days they need till they can move on. But that also is very fluid, and we've been able to help in that area. The last are the people who don't fit in the first 2 categories. The other important thing to remember is the overwhelming majority of people coming out are women and small children. Men between the ages of 18 and 60 are not allowed out of Ukraine because they're being drafted into the military. And so you have overwhelmingly women, smaller children, and some elderly. And we cannot begin to understand what it's like to make that journey, to make the decision that I'm going to leave my home. Almost everyone left behind somebody, a father, a husband, a son who's in the military, and sometimes all 3, elderly parents that couldn't make the trip, but they have 3 kids, and at least let me get the kids out. Unfortunately, horribly, we Jews know those kind of challenges as recently as 80-something years ago from Poland. When do you decide to leave and run? The journey to the border was not so simple. People arrived as people I know, David is Rabbi Blau and a few others, Erica, I'm sorry, wait, I missed some others, but I apologize. I've been to the border, and you saw people arriving with what we would call a little carry-on, because whatever people took with them is what they could carry. And you imagine a mother with 3 little kids doesn't have a lot of options of what she could bring. And so they finally get to the border. In the first days of the war, people stood for 72 hours to cross the border in the cold, not sure what was going to happen. And they get to the other side. And this is at least when they get to the other side, this is where the Jewish community of Poland can begin to do, begin to do our work. So we had volunteers by the second, third day at the border, able to help people where to go, how to go, and sometimes to transport people to Warsaw, to Krakow, to Lublin, to where we're now housing refugees in the Yeshivat Chachmei Lublin, and to do many other things. I had this idea we should send more people to the border, but the problem was there was no place for them to sleep. So I said, let's rent RV campers. So we rented 2 RV campers, went to the 2 major border crossings, plastered it. Actually, I think you even saw a picture of it up there before, you know, with Jewish stars and everything. So everybody should see who we are. The idea was to anyone Jewish should feel welcome to come. We want to help you. But lots of people came. And so our approach has been, and will be, we are very open about who we are. We are the Jewish community, but we're here to help anyone who needs help. And now in Warsaw, we have a Hillel in Warsaw. It was created 7 years ago. And in the space, which is shared Hillel with the Taubi Center, they decided to convert their space into a day center for women and children, a safe place where they can come and meet. And there were toys. And then we started with Polish lessons, with psychologists, with hot food, a place for them to come. Because often they were being housed in a small apartment, and at least this gave them a place to come meet together. I could tell you about many other things, but I'd like to fast forward. What are the challenges now? What's the next step? And I hope everyone can appreciate that I'm trying to telescope this, because I could talk a lot more about everything that's already happened, and I've left a lot out. But as I said before, that's only because I like you. What are the next steps? Reneé, you spoke about giving respect, giving job. I forget the exact words, but the idea of giving people hope, giving people a future. And so these people who are in Poland right now, many of them are probably staying in Poland until the war is over, until Ukraine is rebuilt. So we're not looking at a 2-3 week window. I'm not sure if we're looking at a 2-3 year window. And so it is pivotal that we give these people independence. We need to find them jobs. We need them to find them apartments. Right now, through your generosity, we're able to rent hotel space. We're able to help fund the Jewish facilities, which we're giving over for free. But what we came to realization is that we need funding to pay for the electricity, to pay for the maintenance, to pay for so there's a partnership there too. But we need to get these people out of the hotels because we need to give them a life. And I realized this a week ago, that all of us, those people living in Poland, on the border, off the border, you who have been so generous. I mean, the Federation is amazing. I'm sorry, I'll interrupt my own self. It was already probably about 2 months ago, CNN had been sending lots of people to Poland to see what was happening. And they ended up asking me, well, how much money has the Jewish world raised? I said, I didn't tell them. I said, I don't know. So I called Eric Fingerhut, Cleveland boy. At least they told me, how much is JFNA? This was already like 6-8 weeks ago. How much is JFNA raised already? 50 million. And Eric says, I think they probably the rest of the Jewish world, another 50. So I told them, as far as we know, it's from North America, it's 100 million. I have a photo of the Korean American correspondent when she heard that number of what the Jewish community was able to give. It was just like, and it really is a sense, I don't want us to get lazy, I don't want us to get arrogant, but it's an unbelievable Kiddush Hashem, what all of you and Jews around North America have been able to do. And now we need to go to the next step. And that is to be able to help us find jobs, find apartments. Another big challenge is the Jewish school is accepting all Ukrainian children, all Ukrainian Jewish children into the school. We have only 16 children right now, but we're anticipating by September with the new school year, it could easily go up to 25. And we also need support for that, because while we will absolutely not take any tuition from these students, but we are hiring extra teachers, we're hiring psychologists, we're hiring language experts, we're hiring teachers who speak Ukrainian Russian to be able to make sure these kids don't fall behind. And so that's another area looking into the future where we're looking and inviting partners to help us with this. The one other project I will mention, and that is, again, the Hillel space. Okay, I have to, full disclosure. The woman who created Hillel for 7 years ago in Poland. And the woman who is still the director now of Hello Poland is my wife. So Magda came up, and she's from Poland. Her name is Magda. And Magda came up with the idea that they want to make a welcome circle, welcoming in 20 Ukrainian families into the community, and by the students of Hillel, that will be their project, working not with 200, but 20, a manageable number, and they're going to do it. And we have also already held 2 integration programs. The first one was one, again, that Rabbi Blau was at. Oh, no, yes, you were still at, yes. At the Lag BaOmer. At the Lag BaOmer gathering that we had. And those rabbis had a very long day. I don't want to talk about it, and we ended up at 250 people, Ukrainian refugees, together with local Jews, together with something like 25 rabbis from North America, and an amazing event together. And we did something similar on the first day of Shavuot. I started years ago to do a picnic for those Jews who had no idea what Shavuot was. It was like 30 years ago. Okay, people knew almost nothing about Pesach. Maybe something about Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, Hanukkah, Shavuot. It's a forgotten holiday. And I said, we did a tikkun. We had a beautiful tikkun this year, over 60 people. But I said, if you start with the tikkun, I'm not sure it's going to be a success. So I started with the picnic. And it caught on. And this year, the picnic was a big opportunity for us to bring in the Ukrainian refugees, again, to meet with the community. I'd like to conclude with a teaching of Rabbi Shapira. You mentioned Shir Chachmei Lublin, Rabbi Meir Shapira, and he comments on the famous statement when God says to Abraham, say achutza, go out and count the stars. And most people said, and this will be koya zarecha, so your progeny, your children and grandchildren will be like this. And the normal translation understanding is that your progeny will be as many as the stars in the heaven. But there's another interpretation from Rabbi Shapira, which goes the following. It says, Abraham goes outside. And what's the normal reaction? Somebody says to you, go outside and count the stars. They say, yeah, right. No way. What does Abraham do? 1, 2, 3, 4. He starts counting. And then God says to him, Ko yezerecha, so your progeny will be. Not that they'll be as numerous as the stars, but when given a challenge, they will be able to do the impossible. That's the Jewish message. And that's what Cleveland Federation does for over 100 years, especially during COVID. And I want to say thank you also, especially during this horrific crisis of the Ukrainian war. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Schudrich. So we have 3 questions here, but we really believe after reading them that you pretty much answered them through your remarks. So we thank you for that very, very much. And you were very thought-provoking and powerful in many of your sentiments. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, before we adjourn, I want to make sure that you're aware of the important events that are coming up. We will be celebrating Israel's 75th anniversary next April with a very special mission to Israel. Plans are already being made for this historic trip for the Jewish Clevelanders, so please contact Shelley Marcus at Federation for more details. And on August 28th, we will be launching our annual campaign for Jewish needs with a kickoff event like never before. For the first time ever, we will combine campaign launch with Super Sunday to create a special day-long fundraising event that will enable us to reach thousands of the community members and showcase the impact that our dollars will have on the entire community. That's August 28th. We look forward to seeing you all there.
So this evening was a beautiful evening, and there's a lot of work that obviously goes into orchestrating everything here in the room, by Zoom, and in other words, and planning for it. And how about a thank you for Tammy Kaplan and Aaron and Tracy and Amy and others from the Federation. We really appreciate all the hard work that you've done.
You made it very easy. Thank you very much.
So on behalf of everyone here at the Federation, we just appreciate all the support, not only tonight, but through the year. Thank you for being there for good. Please enjoy in the lobby, refreshments and dessert, and please drive safely. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.